You probably have heard of vitamin A, and you probably know vitamin A has something to do with your eyes, but here's what nobody tells you, and that is that vitamin A is one of the most powerful compounds in your entire body. It controls how your cells grow, it regulates your immune response, and it can quite literally determine whether certain genes in your DNA get switched on or off. And yet most people have either no idea how it works, or they're quietly getting it wrong. Welcome to Olympus Society, and in this series we are going to be going through every one of the major vitamins and minerals your body actually needs, and we're going to look at what it is, what it does for you, and whether or not you need to supplement it or not. No filler, no fluff, just the stuff that actually matters. Let's get started with vitamin A, because, you know, A, first letter of the alphabet. So, what is vitamin A? Well, vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means that your body stores it in your fat tissues and the liver rather than flushing it out through urine the way it does with the water-soluble vitamins. That distinction matters, and we'll come back to it when we talk about toxicity later on. The term vitamin A, though, isn't just one thing. It's actually an umbrella term for a family of compounds, and they don't all work the exact same way. There are essentially two forms that you need to know about. First, there is preformed vitamin A, which is the active, ready-to-use form that your body can use immediately, and your body likes this form. Secondly, there is provitamin A, which is the precursor form, which your body has to convert into active vitamin A before it can do anything with it. So let's break these down one at a time, shall we? We'll start with form 1, which is preformed vitamin A, as we will refer to it from here on out, retinol. Preformed vitamin A, as we've just said, goes by the name of retinol, and is found exclusively in animal-based foods. When you eat it, your body either uses it straight away or stores it in the liver. It's the most bioavailable form, meaning your body absorbs and uses it very, very efficiently. So what does retinol actually do? It does a number of things for your body, so let's take a look at a few of those things, shall we? It's not like you have a choice. I mean, you could click off, I guess, but please don't do that. Please be sure to stick around. It helps with vision, specifically low light and night vision. Retinol is converted in the eye into a compound that is called retinol, which binds to proteins in your photoreceptors to help you detect light better. Without enough of it, night blindness is one of the first symptoms that shows up. Another thing that retinol will do for you is that it can help with skin and cell turnover. Retinoids regulate how quickly your skin cells regenerate. If you've ever seen retinol pushed in some skincare products, this is the exact reason as to why. But internally, the same principle applies to the lining of your gut, lungs, and other tissues throughout your body. Immune function is another thing that vitamin A helps with. Vitamin A helps maintain the integrity of the mucosal barriers which line your respiratory and digestive tracts, and these are the first line of defense against pathogens. It also supports the production and function of your white blood cells, which are what your body essentially sends to fight illnesses when they get into your body. Gene expression is another thing, and is perhaps a bit that most people don't actually realise. Retinoic acid, which is the oxidized form of retinol, acts as a signalling module that binds to receptors inside of the cell nuclei and directly control which genes get expressed. It influences cell differentiation, which is the process by which a generic stem cell will become a different kind of cell, whether that be a liver cell, a skin cell, or a blood cell. It can become any other kind of cell as well. Without adequate vitamin A, the process goes entirely wrong. And finally, reproductive health, as vitamin A plays a role in sperm production, embryonic development, and fetal organ formation. The best food sources for preformed vitamin A are beef liver, which is one of the most nutrient-dense foods in existence, oily fish, eggs, full-fat dairy, and cod liver oil. So now let's take a look at that second form of vitamin A that we mentioned, provitamin A, or as we'll refer to them from now on, carotenoids. The second form is provitamin A carotenoids, the most well-known being beta-carotene. These are found in plant-based foods, particularly anything orange, yellow, or dark leafy green. So, you know, your carrots, your sweet potatoes, spinach, kale, butternut squash, they're all high in beta-carotene. However, here is the critical distinction. Beta-carotene is not actually vitamin A. It's a precursor that your body can convert into retinol, but the conversion rate is surprisingly inefficient. The general estimate is that you need around 12 micrograms of beta-carotene to produce just 1 microgram of retinol. Some research puts the conversion rate even lower than that, especially in people with certain genetic variants that affect the enzyme responsible for the conversion. A significant portion of the population are what's called poor converters, which means that they absorb beta-carotene fine but convert very little of it into active vitamin A. So now, carotenoids have their own separate biological roles beyond being converted. Beta-carotene acts as an antioxidant, which neutralizes free radicals. There is also lutein and zeaxanthin, which are two other carotenoids that accumulate specifically in the maculae of the eye and act as a natural filter against UV and blue light, which is why they're associated with protection against age-related macular degeneration. Lycopene, which is found in tomatoes, has antioxidant properties linked to reducing certain kinds of cancer. One key difference from the pre-formed vitamin A is that beta-carotene is not toxic in high doses. The worst thing that happens if you eat enormous amounts of, say, carrots, is a harmless orange tinge will come to your skin called carotemia, and your body simply just stops converting the excess beta-carotene when it doesn't need more retinol. This is very different from retinol though, which can be excessively toxic if you consume large doses of it. So now, for a bit of a warning, because vitamin A is fat soluble, which as we mentioned earlier means it is absorbed into your fat tissue, it accumulates in the body. Chronic overconsumption of pre-formed vitamin A, almost always through supplementation or cod liver oil taken in excess, can lead to what's called hypervitaminosis A. Symptoms of this can include nausea, dizziness, blurred vision, headaches, and in serious cases bone damage and liver toxicity. The tolerable upper limit for adults is around 3,000 micrograms of retinol per day. To put that into context though, a single 100 gram serving of beef liver contains roughly 6,500 micrograms. So some practitioners tend to advise limiting liver to once or twice a week for this exact reason, and it's particularly important for pregnant women to be careful with this, where chronic excess vitamin A is associated with birth defects in their child. Beta-carotene from whole food though, not really a concern. Pre-formed vitamin A from high dose supplements is worth paying attention to. So that brings us to the question of whether or not you should be supplementing vitamin A. For most people who eat a reasonably varied diet, no you don't really. If you eat animal products, you're almost certainly getting your adequate amount of vitamin A. A couple of eggs a day and some dairy covers a meaningful chunk of your daily needs. Add a bit of liver to your diet even occasionally and you will be very well covered. The UK recommended intake is 700 micrograms per day for men and 600 for women, which is really not that difficult to hit if you're eating a very good mixed diet. However, if you tend to eat a more exclusively plant-based diet and are relying entirely on carotenoid conversion, it is worth being a bit more intentional about, especially if you are one of those poor converters that we mentioned earlier. So eating plenty of your orange and dark green vegetables with a source of fat will help significantly, since carotenoids are fat soluble and absorption drops considerably without dietary fat present. So who might genuinely benefit best from supplementation? Strict vegans will probably be the best affected by supplementation, because they aren't likely getting a wide variety of carotenoid rich foods. Also people with fat malabsorption conditions like Crohn's or certain liver conditions where fat soluble vitamin absorption is compromised. And then there are also people in parts of the world where dietary vitamin A deficiency is quite common. It's actually one of the most widespread nutrient deficiencies globally and a leading cause of preventable blindness in children in developing countries, so they could all benefit from a little bit of supplementation. However, for the average person watching a fitness channel such as this one, someone who's eating protein with meals, training regularly and getting some variety in their diet, your vitamin A intake is almost certainly fine. So to summarise that, because I understand that was a bit complicated and we talk pretty regularly and get a bit confusing. To summarise, vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin that involved in vision, immune function, skin health, gene expression and reproduction. It comes in one of two forms, whether it's pre-formed retinol from animal based foods, which is ready to use immediately by your body, and pro-vitamin A carotenoids like beta carotene from plants, which must be converted and is not efficiently converted. Carotenoids also carry their own separate antioxidant and eye health benefits. If you have too much pre-formed vitamin A, that can be toxic, but that only usually comes from supplementation. Beta-carotene from food cannot be toxic though. And most people eating a mixed diet don't really need to worry about supplementing. And that is vitamin A done. So next up in this series is just moving next in the alphabet to vitamin B. And there is a lot to cover there, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. However, that is all for this video, so if you have enjoyed it, then be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you are new around here. Also, be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. That is all for now, so I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace!